I rise to briefly support the tenor of many of the amendments in this group, inasmuch as the Noble Lord Lucas has explained it, they strengthen parents' hands against any local authorities that are overbearing. And that's not to suggest that all local authorities are going to be overbearing, but it's to ensure that they're not necessarily interpreting their role as always one of policing. So I think it's all about balancing powers and a sense of proportionality. I like Lord Way's homeschool ombudsman, although I'd rather it wasn't needed because I don't like lots of parts of this part of the schools bill. But I listened carefully to particularly what the Noble Lord Soley said, and also his last point when he just made the point about this being supportive and not punitive. And I think that those points are very important, but I wanted to kind of raise my qualms about this. Of course, those noble lords who've raised the point about bad actors are correct. Some parents are cruel. Some parents represent a threat to their children. But in a free society, we make the assumption, do we not, that the vast majority of parents are not a threat to their children. We don't organise everything. At the moment, as far as I know, we haven't nationalised parenting. I mean, we aren't saying we're better at doing it than parents. We assume that parents are good at it. And I'm nervous that the conversation here is that the bad parenting the bad homeschooling that we know enough, the bad homeschooling is being used as a means of abuse, presented somehow as kind of the tip of an iceberg of we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, does infer that there is some relationship between those who choose to homeschool and abusive practices. And I just want to kick back against that. I also think that the emphasis has been on the rights of children, as though the rights of children are in contradistinction to their parents. It's as though parents are going around snatching all the rights of children, and what we should do is let the state be the arbiters, the local authority be the arbiters of protecting children. I mean, I hate to mention it, but the state as parent has a bit of a mixed record. I mean, do ask the young women of Oldham who were sexually abused in the plain sight of state authorities, the report just out now, as to whether it is likely that parents would be the abuser in that instance, or, you know, other people. So I'm just concerned at the tenor of the discussion, because I think that the Minister warned us against the tone of our language at the part of the committee that I was at on Monday. And she's obviously right. Nobody wants to hype up or involved in scaremongering. But I do think when we're talking about homeschooling, as we have been, I didn't raise all the issues of abuse. The issues of abuse have come up in the course of a discussion on homeschooling. So it's understandable that many people who are involved in homeschooling feel anxious that there is a slippage between those sort of things. I also think that we have to just, therefore, or rather, I like these amendments because I think what we do need to do is to say to local authorities, if there is going to be intervention, that they should not have an implicit presumption that those children who are not in school, who are being educated outside of a school setting, that there's nothing dodgy about that. That is, at the moment, we haven't got a law against that. In fact, the reality is that nobody has a right to schooling. It's not that the law says you have to be schooled. The law says you have to be educated. The majority do so through schools. But not everybody does. And at the moment, and as far as I know, the law isn't trying to change that, we assume that is a part and parcel of the free society. That's a choice that people have. However, whenever we're discussing it, if we keep talking about bad actors and abuse, it's not surprising that those who choose to educate their children outside of school are anxious about what this bill is trying to do.